My son, Dalton, is going to be 8 years old tomorrow, which is September 14th. And to kind of celebrate his birthday, I thought that I would share with you guys his birth story because it's crazy. And I was 19 years old and I was clueless and I had no idea what I was doing. And it was crazy. It was a lot to take in. And I'm gonna try to get through it without crying, which is probably not gonna happen, but I wanted to share not only his birth story, but what we had to deal with because he was born at 31 weeks. I'm gonna take you back to 19-year-old Brooke, okay? I was with Brett at that time. We were on and off. We were together for a year, and then I got pregnant. And so I remember calling the gyno and saying, I took a pregnancy test, it's positive, what should I do now? And they asked if I had told my parents yet, and I said no. I wanted to set up the appointment first. And I did that so that my mom would know that she is not going to be responsible for me, basically. I didn't want to put that pressure on her. And so I'm going to kind of give you the watered down version. I could go into so much detail, but I'm just going to kind of skim the surface of his birth story. So September 14th, 2011, it was a normal day. I slowly started to feel like my stomach was stretching, and I had felt that similar feeling before, which is why I thought it was my stomach was stretching. I knew I was getting bigger. I knew my belly was getting bigger. I specifically remember going to Walmart that evening and not even being able to walk around Walmart. I was just so uncomfortable. It wasn't a painful cramp. It was just an uncomfortable feeling. It was not around my back. It was not, you know, it did not feel like a contraction, but it was. We get home that evening and I had gotten a hold of my mom. I got a hold of Brett's mom. They came over and we timed the cramps that I was having or whatever I thought it was, and they did start to get closer together. And so they both said, you know what, we just go in, you know, it could just be Braxton Hicks. Go in and get it checked out just to be safe. And so that's what I did. And we go to the hospital, which is probably 5 minutes away from our little crappy apartment that we were living at the time. And we get settled into a room. They put this strap thing around my belly, and they are just kind of monitoring my contractions. And they wait and they wait, and a nurse comes in and she says, "Sweetie, I'm gonna check you to see how far you are dilated." It is just me and Brett and the nurse in this room. My mom and Brett's mom are waiting outside, I think just to kind of give us some privacy while she checks me to see if I'm dilated. And she checks me and instantly has this like, oh crap look on her face. She goes out and she comes back in and she says, "I don't want to scare you, but I can feel his head and we need to go. I gotta go get a doctor. We need to get going right now." And it is an instant rush panic. So I went from thinking, I hadn't even showered that day. I was in pajamas. I just felt yucky. I was expecting to go in, then check me and tell me I'm fine and I would be going home. And instead, in a matter of 3 seconds, I am now being wheeled fastly into a different room and I have to start pushing. And I remember feeling the urge to start pushing, but the doctor was not in yet. And I remember looking up at Brett and being like, I can't help it. Like I need to push. I don't know what else to do. Just wait, the doctor's coming. Just wait a second, he'll be here any minute. And so they were not able to give me an epidural because I was too far along. It was like one minute I'm laying in a room, the next minute they're telling me I need to get this baby out, basically. And so Dalton is born at 31 weeks. He is 4 pounds, 6.6 ounces, 17 inches long, and it is 11:15 at night. And as soon as he's born, I put my arms out to hold him, and they take him away, and I don't even get to hardly look at him. And I remember Brett asking, is he okay? And it was such a whirlwind of emotions that I didn't even know how to feel at that time. And so from this point on, I'm just gonna give very basic information just for the sake of the video. I could be here for hours telling you every single detail. So they take Dalton into a different room, and we are able to, a little bit later, we're able to, they wheel me in, and I can kind of touch his little toes, touch his fingers. He is in a separate room in this like incubator, but I cannot hold him yet. And he was having some issues, and so they told me that he had to be taken to a different hospital that had a better NICU that could take care of him. And so after we kind of, you know, oohed and awed over him for a little bit, they put him in basically an incubator on wheels, put him in an ambulance, and he was taken to Loyola Hospital, which is about a 40-minute drive, I believe, from where we just had him to the new hospital that he has to stay at. And so during this time that he was at the NICU, he was there for a total of 5 weeks. And throughout those 5 weeks, Brett tried to visit him as much as he could, but he was working, trying to bring in money because we just had a baby. And I was going up as much as I could. My mom drove me up there many times. We also stayed at a place called the Ronald McDonald House, which is incredible. They have basically it's like a housing place for parents that have babies in the NICU for free. Once he is 2 weeks old, I can finally hold him, which was incredible. But I'll tell you what, it is oh my God. I was doing so good. It is one of the hardest things to have a baby and not bring them home. It was horrible. And so, we saw them as much as I could. I was out of the hospital. I had him at 11:15 at night. I was out of the hospital that next morning. I think it was by like 8 or 9 a.m. We were back home. I showered, and we were up to Loyola to see him. And so after he, you know, got better, he started to eat on his own. He didn't need, his body temperature didn't need to be monitored anymore. And they were going to do a couple different tests, eye tests, hearing tests. And I had noticed that he had, something was different with his eye. His pupil, I remember thinking it just looked different. I didn't quite know what was different. I could tell that the black part of his eye looked it looked weird. And so Brett was like, oh, it's probably nothing, he'll probably grow out of it, kind of thing. And I remember talking to the nurse about it, and she said, we will do an eye test, because I noticed it instantly. And the eye test came back that he had columboma. And I remember getting a piece of paper. Like, they didn't even really explain it to me. They just handed me this piece of paper that had what it is. And of course, I'm like thinking the worst. I'm already an emotional wreck. I don't have my baby, and now what is wrong with him? Like, what the heck is columboma? Basically, his pupil is round at the top, and then at the very bottom it's elongated, kind of like a keyhole. And that means that when he goes outside, his pupil does not dilate in the sun. One of his eyes doesn't dilate at all, and then the other eye, he has columboma in it just a little bit, but it's not to the point where his pupil is affected. So anytime he is outside, I'm sure you guys have seen him outside many times with sunglasses on. He wears them because he has to. After he was finally able to come home, we were sent to, you know, an optometrist who specializes in little babies, and it was in that same hospital. And throughout his probably 6 years, for the next 6 years, we had been making many trips up to the eye doctor. He got his eyes dilated, you know, where they put eye drops in your eye and they dilate your pupils. He had tests, he had pictures, he had just about everything done. After the tests and everything, it was determined that he has 20/20 vision. He does not need glasses. He sees just fine. His eyesight is perfect. The only thing is when he goes outside, it is very bright, so he has to wear sunglasses. It almost like hurts his eyes when the sunlight hits his eyes. So, and it's hard for him to see outside too when it's really bright out. So constantly, I mean, I think I have sunglasses in just about every nook and cranny of my truck, Brett's truck, the house, you know, everywhere. And so he's doing just fine now. I mean, because he was born so early, there are no, you know what I mean, like nothing I've noticed. Once he came home from the NICU, he was a normal newborn baby. There were no issues, no complications. Other than him seeing an eye specialist, there was nothing else that I had to do. And I asked him if I could share his story about his eye, because maybe there's another, you know, baby out there that has the same thing that he does. It's incredible how far he's come. And he's such a smart little boy. He catches on to things so quick. It's crazy. He's my sweet little boy. I did want to show you guys, I pulled out his preemie outfit. Like, look at how little, it's just a little cute little outfit. This was another one that he wore. It's crazy how tiny. Like, you forget until you see, like, literally the arm is shorter than my hand. All right, enough of the sad, sappy stories. Hope you guys enjoy Dalton's birth story. I will definitely be doing one on Daylin because she was actually born early too. And she was in the NICU for a week. So I have never had a baby that I was able to hold and bring home right away, which freaking sucks. I am gonna go ahead and get a couple things ready for Dalton's birthday since we are celebrating it today. Today's Friday. His birthday's not till tomorrow, but Brett has to work on Saturday, and so instead of making Dalton wait, like, you know, all day, we figured we would celebrate it tonight. Have him pick wherever he wants to go for dinner tonight. He can open up presents tonight, and tomorrow, after Brett gets off work, we'll go out to take him, we'll take him to do something fun, and you know, while he's waiting for Brett to get off work, he can play with all of his new stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple things ready. It'll be back to my normal day stuff. Do you want to come sit over here?
Yes.
It's time for Dalton to open his present.
You
know, when you were little, bud, you used to rip open your presents, and then before you'd even look at what you got, you would fold up the wrapping paper, throw it in the garbage every time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that. He was like 1 or 2.
Yep.
He would do that.
You would always clean up your mess before you even looked at your present.